Hello world, this is Shruti Pandey, and today I have with me a friend, a buddy, an inspiration to me since 2015, my JP Morgan days, where I first happened to meet Bindi Basan, who used to manage, lead, and take care of a Singapore pod that we had for our team. We had different pods, Mumbai, Singapore, UK, etc. But the way she led the team, the way she used to take care of minutest details for the team. I just fell in love with her, needless to say. And I'm so happy that today I'm inviting Bindi, not just as a colleague, but I've seen her amazing journey in corporate life. And today she's the COO of GoVida. Thank you so much, Bindi, for giving me your time today. And I'm so happy that we are finally recording the podcast after all the talks that we have.
Thank you so much, Shruti. It's been lovely to speak to you so far, and I'm really excited about chatting over all the topics that you've got lined up for today.
So you were telling me a story of the name that your current startup or company has. Do you want to share that bit with all of us before we dive into the questions? Like the name is very
Yes. So the name, I guess, the background to the name came from it's a GoVida. So Vida means life in Spanish, so go life. Right. But it was really interesting because when I first joined the company, I was chatting to one of my friends in Singapore, and I was like, you need to Google search GoVida, I'm going to be joining the company. Right. And she tried and she found Govinda, as you all know, the famous actor in Mumbai. And we were just laughing actually because GoVida is all about employee wellness and well-being, and really getting the best out of your people, who are your most important assets in any organization. And we were both laughing actually because we were saying Govinda's really important for our well-being because every time we see him on screen, it's just bursts of laughter, right? He's an amazing entertainer. So even though there was a bit of a mismatch in her search functionality, what was quite interesting was that there is a connection, right? Because we talk about wellness and well-being and things that make us happy and make us feel great. Well, Govinda's definitely one of them.
Absolutely. And while as much as we Indians love our actors and celebrities, Govinda being one of them, I love one of the Ricky Martin song, which is, Live in La Vida Loca. And that's how I know a little bit of my Spanish, but I'm pretty sure this is one amazing fun fact about having a crazy name for a company. And thank you for sharing that with us. It makes a lot of sense. So without taking much of your time, because I feel like I want to take so much of your time today, you have such an amazing journey to share. I have 3 questions for you. Can we get into those?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So my first question for you is, you have seen a plethora of journey working at different places, working as a leader in many of them. How do you strive balance between health and work life? Because I know as a matter of fact that you are one crazy person in a very good way when it comes to health and taking care of your physiological well-being as a person yourself. So how really do you strive that balance between work and health?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I know balance means different things for different people, right? I think if I just give you my leadership answer first. So as a leader, I have accountability and responsibility to ensure that the people that I work with have balance, right? And there's certain things that I can definitely do and put in place to ensure that I actually support people's wellness. Right from simple things like I used to have, no internal meetings on Fridays. I don't want people's calendars to be booked out. I know they're already busy with customer meetings in and out all week. Fridays, I'm not booking anything. So those are simple things to do. But I think for me, this principle is applicable regardless of whether you have 50 people reporting to you or 5,000 or 500,000, because basically, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is even if you have 500,000 people reporting to you, basically you apply that principle across all your leaders across the organization. So for me, what's really important is to understand what environment people need to be successful. So when I'm hiring on building teams, I need to understand that, because balance for everybody means different things, right? For some people, it's like, I want to be able to spend time with my family. For others, I want to be able to go to the gym in the middle of the day, you know, and for others, it might be, oh, on weekends, can I work on this? And that's really important, because as much as I can sort of enforce, you do not work after 5 p.m. or you do not do this, it's so different for everybody. So there's no point in trying to build one box fits all, right? So, and to just give you an example of what I mean by that is, I in my last role, I had some amazing creative talent working for me, brilliant problem solvers. But then when you get brilliant problem solvers, they just want to solve problems all the time, right? Yeah. So they'd be working on evenings and weekends, and I'll be like, no, you don't need to do that. But actually, their energy and their batteries are charged from doing the activity, right? And that's what makes them happy. So when we talk about balance, I can say stop doing that, but actually it's probably going to have a negative effect, because that activity gives them so much energy and so much happiness. Then just let them do it. So that's why it's really important to understand what everybody needs to be successful, and then how do you create an environment where they can truly thrive. So that's, as a leader, you definitely have the opportunity to influence certain setups for your teams, right? And I said it doesn't matter if you've got 50 or 500,000, right? These can be rolled out across your teams. On a personal level, the way that I like to look at balance is that you've got to put a time frame on it, because are you talking about, am I balanced in the last 2 weeks, in the last 2 hours, or are you talking about the 2 years, right? And the thing is, though, it's very different, right? For me, I always believe that there's going to be certain times in my life where certain things are going to be quite intense, because I've got a project to deliver, or I'm doing a dance show. And so that in that period, I might not have balance, but it's okay, because it's for a short period, and then it goes, you know, if I look at it in a bigger term, I think 12 months was 12 months balanced. Perhaps, yes, but was the last 2 weeks balanced? Or the last month for me right now? Probably not, because actually I've done about 8 training sessions in the space of 6 days. So I've probably got a bit excessive, but it's okay, because the overall thing, what really matters is, do I have balance overall? So I think for me, the way that I look at it is to make sure that I'm in a position where I can recognize when something potentially could go wrong. Am I on the edge of the cliff and I'm about to fall off because I've overworked myself? Or, you know, am I in a crocodile swamp that I need to pull myself out of? And that's when a change needs to happen. But I'm okay with, I'll give you an example. I did a theatre performance, right? You're on stage for a whole month doing performances on evenings, and at the weekends there's got matinee shows. There's 3 months of intense technical rehearsals. So I'm working all day, tech rehearsals every night. Right, and then the actors come in, because it was a musical, and then you've got to do all your rehearsals with them, and then there's technical rehearsals on stage, and then there's corrections. So there's a whole. Was I balanced during that period? Probably not. Was I absolutely having so much fun and happy? Absolutely, I loved it, right? And then on stage, it was amazing. So for me, I think it's really about understanding what balance means for you, and at what point do you need to take corrective action, because you're potentially going to cause some damage, and also assessing what time frame are you looking at. I think that's really important, because there has been periods in my time where I have in my career probably neglected my health, but the outcomes of what I was doing outweighs that. So for example, you know, living on a plane for 4 years was crazy, but I met some incredible people and got to work with some amazing talent across the world. And, you know, I would never go back and say, oh, you know, I wish I'd looked after my health a bit more, because actually the outcomes of what I achieved of doing that was it's just one of those lifetime experiences I would never say no to.
You seriously are a ball of fire. I've never said that to anyone before on the podcast. And please take that as a compliment. And I just feel more honored every time for the fact that I have known you and I've worked with you in some way or the other, because while you started off the answer on the note of the simple things, right? I have seen you doing that for the teams. And I remember I was really young back then, like starting off my career, hardly 3, 4 years in the industry. And I would be like, why are my managers not taking care of things the way Bindi does for her team there? I remember even now, and I used to get a little mad, but there are times when you just can't say those things to the managers. And I remember one time I actually said it to someone. I was like, but Bindi does it like that. Why can't we do it like that for our team? So I've seen you doing that. And every time you talk about something you're passionate about, be it health, be it the play, I mean, is there anything that you don't do, Bindi? Like from dancing to taking care of health to being on plane all the time? Like, there is nothing that you can't do. Like, it's so amazing, and touch wood for that. And I absolutely relate to that part of your answer as well, because I am kind of that overachiever kind of a person. I'm not sure if I should be saying that with pride or not, because yes, we get that, all that amazing feeling of working, solving problem, but you need to know where to hit the button and just, take a break, because it might lead to a burnout. It might lead to just you depleting all your energy. So I absolutely love your answer, because it depends on people to people and where they need to, take care of whatever well-being that might be, physical, mental, whatever for them.
Yeah.
So it's one hell of an answer. Like, really, is there something more you feel like adding to this? Because do you think you missed anything? You feel like
No, it is definitely important. I mean, I was lucky in several situations where I didn't recognize that I'm about to fall off the cliff. I had people around me that recognized it, so they were able to say, hold on, can we just pull you rein you back in a bit there, Bindi? So that's really important, I think. And I'm sure we probably end up touching on this, but your cheerleaders and your squad around you is really important as well, because sometimes you're so in the thick of it and so driven that you need somebody else to see what you might not be seeing. And everybody has blind spots, right? So I think that was probably one of the things that has been really vital and important for me, is that the cheerleaders around me are very good at saying, can we just pull you out as a crocodile coming, or don't jump off the cliff, Bindi? So that's really good. And I think it's important that everybody has that. And it doesn't have to be some senior executive or some high flyer. Sometimes it's just the simplest people, like your grandma or your mum or your best friend. It's all those people around you that will see something and will just step in and make sure that you don't go kill yourself or something.
now that you've already, taken a step towards that zone, I want to ask you my second question, which is, what are the tips for achieving success in our career? And it could be both for men and women. I don't want to, stereotype it, but it's difficult to have a career for any of us. So what do you think are the tips for achieving success?
I think the first thing is probably for you to decide, what does success mean to you, and how will you know that you've got there? Because actually, as you mentioned earlier about being an overachiever, I'm also obsessed with growth and constant learning and achievement. And it's always been there all my life, right? But that might not necessarily be what somebody else wants, right? So success for them may look very, very different to me. But it could also look way, way more ambitious than what I am, right? It could be, I want to be a prime minister or something, right? So everybody's success looks different. I think what I would say is that once you've understood what success looks like for you, and how will you recognize that you've got there, then the things that I think have really helped me in my career is the mentoring and having the, like I mentioned, the cheerleaders and the support network. It's really vital, and it's amazing what you can learn as well just by being curious. Just ask the questions if you're not sure. And it's incredible how many people are willing to support and help you, right? So it's not, very rarely, I don't think I've ever been turned away by anybody, whether it's a senior executive or, a team member, to say, no, I won't help you. So that's really important. Always be curious, because you don't know what you're learning. And I've been quite lucky in my career in the sense that I've had the opportunity to work in multiple countries and work with multiple cultures. So very early on, I think I was about 22 when I first went to live abroad and work abroad. And it gave me very good insight into the power of diversity. And not just diversity in cultures and society, but also cognitive diversity. The fact that actually outside of my bubble that I've grown up in the UK, there's an immense amount of talent and skills and knowledge and people that just see things differently. And I need to be able to tap into that and use them to get the best outcomes. And that's what I did, I think, because then subsequently I was back in India helping an organization establish their delivery capability. And I was almost in the middle, like one foot in the east and one foot in the west, trying to marry the two and get them to work together. And it was like, forget the difference, you know, stop worrying about the differences and just worry about how you're going to get the strengths on both sides to work together so you get an outcome. And I think for me, the power of diversity has been a big thing. So I think for anybody, especially if you're in a leadership position, just don't underestimate that. And it's not just about oh, I'll hire somebody who's from a different culture or you know, a different background. It's diversity comes in so many forms, right? And if you think about transferable skills as well. So as an example, I was talking to a very young guy actually that's in the gym that I train in. He's 18. He was telling me a story about how he got into bodybuilding. He's amazing, actually, when I watch him. And I know he's competing this coming Sunday. And I was just happened to be chatting to him after one of my sessions. And, you know, we got chatting about my travels and the fact that I'd lived around the world and, you know, I had worked in different countries. And, you know, he was so fascinated. He was like, that sounds amazing, but, you know, I don't know, you know, if I'm going to be able to do it. And I was like, I'm looking at him thinking, first of all, you're 18, so you've got your whole life ahead of you. But actually, what he was failing to see, because when I look at him, I see an 18-year-old with dedication, commitment, consistency, because to achieve what he's achieving in the gym when he's lifting, you know, this is like proper weight training and bodybuilding, it's just incredible. And I train as well, so I know how much effort it takes, and you have your ups and downs. It's not an overnight success. And just so when I look at somebody like that, I just think, why wouldn't I want somebody like that in my team? If he's applying that much consistency and dedication to something in his personal life, just think what he would do in the work life. So I think if you're in a leadership position, I would just step out of the frame and go beyond just what you see on the CV and think about what these individuals are doing that they could bring to the table. But the biggest thing for me, I think the biggest impact that's had is to look outside of your industry to learn things. So really always being fascinated with sports and stuff and seeing why do those industries succeed, right? Looking else, or the military or special forces, what is it? You know, if you want to learn how to make decisions in tough environments, then read about what the military do or the special forces, because you haven't got time to say, oh, I'll get back to you. Can you just record that in the meeting minutes and we'll get back to you next week? Your decisions have to be made on the fly. I did actually have this exposure when we were at JP Morgan, because yes. There was one of the product owners was ex-military, right? He was in the army. Oh my God, I love the way he made decisions, right? Because it was just instant. There was no like, oh, think about it.
Running around the bush. Yeah.
It was straight. Decision making was flat out, quick, fast, speedy.
I sometimes JP Morgan has spoiled me for that, because you don't find such culture and leadership everywhere. You know, it's so rare that people take decisions, and are so straight with it. I'm sorry for cutting you there, but go ahead.
No, it's fine. No, so for me, I do a lot of that, and I continue to do a lot of that. I'm actually quite blessed to have people around me that are from different industries. So my fitness coach, as an example, is an ex championship player. So, you know, he's been an elite performer, continues to be highly successful in his businesses. But can you just imagine the amount of access that I have in terms of knowledge and experience when I'm talking to him and I'm lifting? I just tap into his brain about body science, body physics. But what was really interesting, we were having a conversation once, because I'm there talking about corporate life, and he's telling me about the sporting life, and he'd say to me, he goes, what I don't understand in these, why does it take so long to make decisions in your corporate world? So he's obviously been listening to my conversation. He said to me, which was really powerful, he said, we lose a game on Friday, Saturday morning, we're all in the room watching that game to see what went wrong. We have 4 days to turn it around because you can't afford to lose the following week. Your strategy, your approach has to adapt in that speed, and you have to take accountability for what went wrong. And it could be individual, it could be team, but you have to make a change because you can't afford to lose on that following Friday. And he says, but when I'm talking to you, it sounds like in the business world, you can afford weeks and months before you make a change. And it was really, that sort of thing is really sort of powerful. And then the other aspects, which I love getting from the sporting world, is the whole team thing. I was listening to a podcast on the British rowing team. And that's really powerful, isn't it? Because everybody in that setup has to be rowing in the same direction, not on different pages like quite often in the corporate world people are. And this, just imagine the trust and the dependability that you've got there, right? Because the whole team is heading in the same direction with a shared purpose and a belief that they're going to achieve and succeed together. And it's so powerful, right? But not only that, it's more than just a shared purpose of achievement as a team. It's something bigger than them because they're actually competing for their country, right? So it's not just about them winning, and it's not just about the team winning, it's about the whole country winning. And the power and the passion and the way that those individuals can come together to succeed. I was really fascinated by that because I wanted to see how can I duplicate that and replicate that in the corporate world with my team, especially the last team that I had, which was split across 5 different countries across Asia. How do I get people from different cultures in completely different backgrounds aligned for a shared purpose and come together and breaking down any barriers and silos? And I always say this, I always used to say this, and I was so proud of it. I said, you could line up my entire team across the wall and their principles and values would be aligned. Wow. But what was really nice was, and it was, I think that was probably a sign for me that, oh, finally it's happened, is when people used to say to me, that person works for Bindi. That person's in Bindi's team, because there was just this recognition of the whole culture that the team had built around themselves was so obvious, and it was just oozing out of them. You could spot them, you could meet them, you could be in a room and you would know who was my team. And I think that was really powerful for me.
I have goosebumps right now, and they just don't settle. But I can't even imagine an answer to that difficult question in such a simple, lively, and direct way. Like, I don't think so anybody can answer that. It's a difficult question. I mean, people can think of it as stupid, people can think of it as naive, people can think of it as difficult. And the way you answered it has just blown me over once again, Bindi. Like, I literally have goosebumps all over, because you made us realize for the fact that, there is advice from everybody, every person, maybe your team member, maybe somebody from your home, maybe somebody at the office. And I love, the correlation between you taking examples from military, you taking example from weightlifting, and you gave all the adjectives, attributes for what really is making any person successful. Like when you talked about the kid at the gym, you talked about focus, determination, and everything that he has at 18. I mean, I love the way you got the adjectives out story by story and just created that entire narrative. I'm seriously so happy. I can't even tell you and like express it to the fullest, but I'm just so happy. Like, really, what an answer, Bindi, what an answer. And I hope people make the most of it, because I don't know of many people who can very simply answer that question, which is so difficult, really. Advice and career, and it's not easy. And success in career, like you rightly mentioned, can be very different to different people. So where they draw their ethos from, or principles from, or like, the first line of duty kind of thing that they think about is so difficult. Like, I can't thank you enough for that answer. Seriously. I can listen to you for hours.
I can probably give you loads of examples because, to be honest, I think the people that I've met on my journey, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, a highly successful person. I mean, I've met some very highly successful people, but even the smallest and the simplest of things can influence you. I might have told you this story before, but I'll just mention it because I just do think it's really powerful. But when I was living in India, I used to teach in an orphanage in Pune, actually. And you go after work on a Wednesday. I used to teach dance to children. I think my youngest was 4 and the eldest was about 15 in the group. They were like every child, right? Naughty and stuff, but I always used to love going to spend time with them. And I always used to make sure that I've got batteries in my music devices so that I can actually, if there was a power cut, I've always got music can play, right? And I always used to try to go before the sunset. So if there was a power cut, we can actually still dance. And I still remember that one day I turned up and I was a little bit late and there had been a power cut. So it was dark, right? So, and I remember turning to the children and saying, I'm really sorry. I says, how about I'll just come back next week. It's okay. You know, don't worry about it. And those children would not let me leave. And they just, all I just saw was they just like dispersed across the room, fiddling around in bags and cupboards. And they just lit the entire room with candles because they wanted to dance. And they did not want me to leave and come back the following week. And I sit there and think, you know, we read all these books about problem solving and let's go find out what these top leaders have done to solve problems. I had a 4-year-old in that room solving a problem, and so passionate and determined that they wanted to really do it, that they will find a solution. And I was, I mean, even now, actually, it makes me emotional because actually, I just like, oh, just like so touched. But it's just so, it's so, I guess inspiration comes from anywhere and anybody can teach you a lesson that you can apply. And I think my advice to people would be just be open-minded to listen, because you don't know where your knowledge or your skills are coming from, and it doesn't have to be highly successful people all the time. It's coming from everywhere. And just be open-minded, because people will often, if you just be open-minded and listen, you will see that there's lots of things in your blind spots. But when you uncover those blind spots, then what you get in result is success, right? And I think that goes back to your first question: how do you succeed? And that's what I would say is be open, be curious, look for diverse views to learn and diverse places, and yes, and just step outside of that box. But also take opportunities that come your way, even if they scare you, because actually that's the best way to learn. And once you've done it once, it will just lead to other opportunities. So it can go 2 ways. It can lead to more opportunities, which is amazing. It could also lead to an obsession, a bit like what happened with me, because it's like once you've had it once, it's like it's almost like an adrenaline rush, and you want it again, and then you want it again, and then normality just doesn't, you know, like a normal job that doesn't involve something crazy, or a normal activity that doesn't involve something crazy, just it just doesn't feel right. I mean, like I just had this crazy thing a couple of weeks ago. I was watching Last Dance with the Michael Jordan story on Netflix. I got addicted, binge watched it. And I was like, I want to learn how to play basketball. I went to the sports shop. I got so excited in the shop, just taking the basketball and bouncing it in the shop. Right. And I was surrounded by children who were trying to buy footballs. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to buy this basketball. And I did. And it happens to be that my coach used to play basketball. So I've told him, I says, you need to teach me a move every week. But it's just, I don't know, it's just, why not, right? Just live life,
You know, you're teaching a very, very important lesson. I mean, you taught many important lessons with one answer, but you have hit the nail in the coffin when I see to this that, you know, there's a classic thing where people see personal and professional life as differently, but it's one life and you are the same person everywhere. And okay, you might be playing a role of a mother, a daughter, a leader, whatever, in different scenarios, but you are one person. And just you need to learn to the fullest. You can derive inspiration from any and everywhere, and that is going to lead to success in your personal and professional life. It's as simple as that. The definition of success could be anything. But and I hate you, I have to say this, because it really made me emotional and I wasn't expecting that at all, with your the kids story. And yes, absolutely. What better than kids teaching you a lesson like right in your face about grit, determination, and problem solving? Like, I don't give a damn. There's no electricity. Let's get the candles and let's get this doing. I mean, that was really a powerful story. I wasn't expecting that, and I wasn't expecting that I would get emotional, but I really did get emotional. And you are one hell of an inspiring person, Bindi. And every time we speak, I just feel so grateful that I got a chance to work with you and learn with you. And I know we are, what was that song where it's like so close no matter how far, something of the sort. But yeah, it's amazing. Every time I saw your journey on LinkedIn in a post or another, I used to feel so proud of you, and I am damn very proud of you. And I want to stop this podcast here because I feel like having a part two of a podcast with you, because I still have some more questions going, and I need to ask you a bit more about things which are important for us. And people, stay tuned, because this is going to be a two-part series with Bindi. And stay tuned.